Good evening. Welcome to the Pearl Report. I'm Diana Lin. Typhoon Hato recently swept through Hong Kong and Macau, with the latter bearing the brunt of its force. Over 100 dead or injured, water and power supplies curtailed, whole districts devastated. It also exposed flaws in Macau's weather warning system and relief and rescue capabilities. Many people query, what's happening to Macau? Dubbed Las Vegas of the East, Macau is usually a glittering city swarming with tourists. On August 23rd, the sheer destructive force of Typhoon Hato caught the enclave by surprise. Toppled trees, shattered windows. Torrential rain flooded low-lying areas. People's lives were disrupted. Some died after being swept into underground car parks.
Used a tiny pump to pump water from that stairway. It happened over 3 hours ago. When I at last saw firemen coming, I knelt outside the door, begging them to save my dad.
Typhoon Hato killed at least 10 people and injured over 100.
Faced with this natural disaster, we admit we are inadequate. There's room to improve and perfect. On behalf of the Macau SAR government, I sincerely apologize to all residents.
Hato left a trail of destruction. The Macau government mobilized an 8,600-strong rescue and relief force from fire services, police, customs, etc., even clerical staff. 2 days later, the government asked the People's Liberation Army Macau garrison to help in the cleanup. Residents also formed their own volunteer relief groups.
During Typhoon Hato, there was flooding, but not so severely. We panicked. There were no men at home, only women and children. It was frightening.
53-year-old Ms. Fock has lived in Macau's Praia do Manduco district for 26 years. This low-lying area floods easily.
Too fast. Instantly it was here. Called the police right away, but couldn't get through. It kept flooding. My daughter is taller than me. Water still came up to here for her. She's 1.6 meters. Water was 1.4 meters. It gushed in here from beneath.
She couldn't open her door. She could only stand at the threshold and shout for help.
I watched the water rise. I felt hopeless. My fears ebbed only when the water receded. It was an escape from death.
Everything at home was drenched in salt water.
TV set, fridge, washing machine. Don't know if they work. The house is overwhelmed. Isn't that serious? The best thing is the fish is unscathed.
The storm damaged facilities at the Ilha Verde plant that supplies half of Macau's drinking water. Residents had to get water from fire hydrants. Hearing a legislator was distributing boxed meals and bottles of water, Ms. Fock rushed to join the queue. Praia do Manduco district was hard hit. This used to be a small fishing village. Its population of 70,000 is mostly elderly. With her home flooded, Ms. Fock can only live with relatives nearby. No water and electricity. Macau gets 90% of its electricity from Zhuhai. due to damage to the supply cables and storm effects on 130 of Macau's 1,500 power substations. Macau had a massive blackout. Only 3 days after the typhoon did the family manage to sit down to a meal together.
Really insufferable. It's hard in the day, not to mention at night, especially for the kids. I think this isn't the commercial district, so the government doesn't care as much. The government says speedy disaster relief. I'm thinking, what relief?
In the den, I sat in the corner and saw another glass window shatter. The explosion was very dangerous. I saw a window in front shake.
Macau University Broadcasting Assistant Professor Agnes Lam lives in Kolowan, near the sea. During the storm, panes of glass were shattered and wooden boards put up to resist the wind.
I've lived here for 15 years and been through number 10 typhoons, but never like this.
On the night of August 22nd, as Hato approached the coast of Guangdong, Hong Kong's observatory hoisted the number 8 signal at 5:20 a.m. the next day and the number 10 at 9:10. Macau put up the number 8 signal at 9 a.m. on August 23rd, 4 hours after Hong Kong, and the number 10 within 2.5 hours. Hato swept past Hong Kong's south side. Its strongest winds skirted Hong Kong but slammed straight into Macau. Hong Kong's Cheung Chau had the highest 10-minute average wind speed of 132 kilometers an hour. Macau's urban area recorded the highest 1-minute average wind speed of 140 kilometers an hour, much stronger than Hong Kong, even though their calibration methods differed. Ms. Lam says there was no government warning that Hato would be so severe.
You can say Macau people aren't vigilant enough in peacetime, no idea of taking precautions, but I think it's largely due to official messages disseminated. We rely on the government's observatory to decide.
Is the observatory strategy problematic? A legislator says observatory staff had complained to him of mismanagement and outdated forecasting methods.
Normally, in the past, they had a board of hired staff to discuss the typhoon. But these meetings, for the past 3 or 4 years, have not been requested. And the director took the decision by himself. He does not listen to his colleagues about technical points of the typhoons.
Answering our queries, the Macau government said its observatory always kept to established procedures to hoist typhoon signals. Hato was extraordinary, it says. Its average wind speed and gust exceeded past records, thus the widespread damage. It says on the 23rd was a 6 a.m. warning that the number 8 would go up at 9 a.m. Hong Kong and Macau also have differing strategies on when to hoist the number 8 signal. Macau's standard is when wind speed exceeded an hourly average of 63 kilometers, and Hong Kong is a 10-minute average of 63 kilometers. So Macau has a stricter criterion. During Typhoon Hato, Macau also issued a red storm surge at 8 p.m. and black storm surge at 11:30 to warn residents that they might be affected by a flow of seawater in low-lying areas.
At least what you didn't do was to say how high the waters would rise in low-lying areas and urge people not to park their cars in such areas. Just to say red storm surge in a forecast, would people understand it?
Agnes Lam says the faulty early warning system resulted in a domino effect on later response, rescue and relief operations.
The government's critique of the disaster and its aftermath is very bad. It doesn't see a disaster but a regular typhoon. Let people return to work. If you announce a state of emergency, would the government lose face or something else? I can only think to avoid adversely affecting the gaming and tourism industries, it was decided not to pronounce a state of emergency in Macau.
Just 4 days after Hato, Macau was hit by another typhoon, Pakar, and hoisted the number 8 signal for 7 hours. When the rains became heavy, Ms. Falk, living in the low-lying district, began to worry.
Macau's sewage system is bad. We don't know why and how to protect it. This is clogged. The Nala mouth is broken and won't drain. Seawater pours in and swells up a lot.
Seawater pouring into the old districts of Hato Interior, Praia do Manduco and Faitige is a decade-old problem. Why hasn't it been resolved? More on that after the break. Welcome back to the Pearl Report. Hong Kong and Macau are battered by an annual average of 4 to 6 typhoons of disparate strengths. Some might even bring a severe storm surge like Hato's. Nature's mighty winds might be hard to dodge, but can flooding be prevented? After 2008's depredating Typhoon Hato, Macau authorities began studying water control formulas. What are the results 9 years on? In Hato Interior's Rua de Cinco de Outubro, flooding was severe during Hato, driving the tourists away. 3 days after the storm, designer Jet Wu went to his gift shop to tidy up and calculate his losses.
Upon entering, it was a state of decay. It was so sudden this time. We lost $1 million worth of goods, our money-making tools. Our family depends on this store as our livelihood.
2 days later, electricity was restored at the shop.
The government wants to galvanize this street. It's become a tourist spot. Many hotels have cropped up nearby. I think the government has to resolve the flooding problem because, however bustling the area and lucrative for the shops, one disaster would push us back a decade.
Macau native and commentator Kamoin Tam says the constant flooding is because reclamation works over the last 400 years didn't take into account a rise in sea level caused by global warming.
Before, the surface of Kiang Lake was 3 kilometers wide. Now, reclamation has left the less than 100-meter Ho River. When a typhoon brings 1 or 2 hours of heavy rain, the water comes from 3 sides. One side is river water from the hills in front. The second and third sides are Macau and Wanzai, attacking from east and west. The water can only flow out at Ama Temple. In an astronomical tide, the tide level outside is higher than the river surface, so the water can't flow out.
Legislator Ho Yong-sang has been monitoring the government's anti-flooding works. He says after many floods, merchants in the area have their ways to control flooding, but they were defenseless against Hato.
今次浸到邊度啊，偉哥？呢度哇條線，哇你3條線喎，呢度08，呢個9，呢個93，哇咁滯啦。我哋啲貨架呢度咧就1.5米啦，咁呢個升降平台就又係升到咁高啦。係。咁今次就冇辦法啦。下面嗰啲都浸晒，1%咯，剩翻。喂，師阿婆。我08年嚟到我呢度買黑格比，咁我已經好聰明㗎啦嚇，整個好實淨嘅價，諗住再高啲啦，即係希望可以逃過一劫啦，但都逃唔到呢劫。如果冇2樓逃生，我哋係都走唔到嘅，因為嗰陣時個門咧壓住咗，開唔到壓力。
At a neighboring rice shop, people moving stock were trapped. 2 siblings were drowned in the basement. After the storm surge brought by Hagupit, the government offered businesses $300,000 interest-free loans, this time $600,000.
上個風暴嘅60萬
都未還完啊！
我都未還完，而家又再借啦。我2間鋪頭添，唔係1間。
可以講話喺我嘅傷口裏面咧，灑。
It's rubbing salt in the wound. More importantly, they've been doing business for so many years. One severe flooding every 8 to 10 years might defeat their confidence to invest.
以至到信心咧都打垮晒。
He says flooding could affect the whole district's economic development.
我覺得市民嗰個怨言。
I think the citizens have many complaints. Many community groups have contributed formulas for flood control and drainage, but after 10 helpless years, the government's formula is still in the bottom of the drawer.
In 2015, the central government gave the Macau government jurisdiction over 85 square kilometers of the sea. Ho Yong-sang says Macau can no longer use the excuse of not having the management of the coastline to delay flood control measures.
Next year, we'll build a rainwater pumping station in Hato interior and repair the old district's sewage pipe network to achieve a division of rainwater and sewage.
In recent policy speeches, Chief Executive Fernando Choi mentioned flood control measures, but before work could begin, the area was again ravaged by a storm. In 2012, the legislature formed a subcommittee to study flood control, hoping to take advantage of this for urban renewal. This led to some temporary measures to stop floods. But legislator and town planner Jose Choi says long-term water management works need society's consensus.
If you want to build a dam 6 or 7 meters high, how would it affect the visual landscape? Would it be acceptable? It's possible, but we need a consensus. Hato interior would be closed down while the whole system is being built. Can people accept and live with that?
He believes this disaster gives society a good chance to discuss this again. The Hato interior pier is the lowest lying place, about 1.3 meters of the sea level datum. In 2015, the government did temporary flood control work here, but it was useless against Hato's storm surge. Seawater not only breached the embankment, but also poured into the underground catchment, causing flooding. Vincent Leung's dad was a civil engineer. In 2008, he and a neighborhood committee gave the government a flood control and drainage plan, but the government hasn't responded yet. Since his dad passed away, Vincent again presented the plan to the government.
The first measure is a series of land reclamations at this area. And the newly reclaimed area should be reclaimed to a level much higher than the sea level, so that in the future, the wave will not be able to overtop through the land, approximately 3 to 4 meters higher than the existing ground we're standing now.
The terrain of Macau's Hato interior is similar to Hong Kong's Sheung Wan. Flooding in Sheung Wan was resolved after a flood storage pool and pump room were built. Leung proposes building a large flood storage pool beneath Macau's new reclamation area and pump rooms in 3 places. The pool can store seawater pouring in or waves breaching the embankment and be pumped out again.
The estimated budget of this project is approximately 2 to 3 billion patakas. This is not a big amount of money compared to the damage and losses of life experienced by the Macau residents. If this program is decided to launch, I believe this construction can be finished within 3 years.
Some believe such flood control schemes haven't been implemented due to complex commercial interests and conservationist problems. Besides floods, the government was also criticized for tardy relief work. Volunteer Rachel took the initiative to deliver food to the low-lying areas. She feels let down by the government's response measures.
This area has many old, weak, and handicapped people. Last night when I delivered food here, I saw many old men and women, children, pregnant women haven't eaten for a few days. No water at all at home. No department help clear the garbage, distribute food. None. We feel it's anarchy. Everything has to be done by us citizens. We have no hope in the government. Better ask for blessings. Save ourselves, Macau people.
An academic believes Macau, being a small place, its disciplinary forces were ill-prepared, and with the division of power practiced since the handover, the government couldn't coordinate the various departments for rescue and relief after the disaster.
This is the organizational culture of the Macau government. The chief executive is the leader of the government, but he decentralized authorities to the various chief secretaries. And the secretaries also dedicate authorities to different bureaus. And so the bureaus enjoy relatively high autonomy and freedom. But the problem is they may not have sufficient cooperation and communication. When we have a crisis, this disconnected, disarticulated organizational structure will amplify their deficiency.
He says although the government is better at responding to external queries since the Al Manong corruption case, it still lacks accountability. He says the resignation of Meteorological and Geophysical Bureau Chief Fong Shui-kun will ease the public's wrath, but if the government continues being incompetent, the people's accumulated grievances can't be underestimated.
We have the agents try to check other bureaus' performance and recommend them to revise their policy. But bureaus have their rights and autonomy to ignore. So this is the problem. A few years ago, some people have been saying that the cash channel is only a method to stop the people to complain the government. But now, you see, we get the money, we suffer finally, that because the government did not improve. Actually, they have lost the confidence for so long, and now the confidence seems to be down to a history low level. People actually point to the government to make planning to deal with the flooding crisis. And I believe that this also pushes the public for their continuations, pressuring on the government to have a better planning in other areas.
In 2 weeks, Macau will hold elections to the legislature. The aftermath of Typhoon Hato is expected to loom large. Well, thank you for watching our show. It will be re-aired on Monday, Tuesday and Saturday, as well as online and on mobile apps. Until next time, from the Pearl Report team, good night, good luck and good health.